Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Conquerors Crew. I have another spectacular guest. They keep getting better every single week. But before we get into it, I've got to tell you, just remind you guys, because some of you guys forget about our pillars. And then for anybody that's new, we have 3 little pillars. And I always like to just go through those. It kind of sets up the vibe of the show and lays the groundwork. And I think that's very important to have that kind of go in front of us with that nice, positive, good, optimistic energy. So, hey, the first one, it is hope. And for the Conquerors Crew, hope stands for helping other people excel. And normally we do the show on Wednesday, kind of humpity hump day in the middle of the week, but this is a special episode, guys. So it's actually Thursday today. And so, a lot of times, kind of middle of the week, right? Give yourself a checkpoint. It's like, I'm kind of having a bummer week or not. Hopefully, if you are, you come and you get a little hope. And if you're having a great week, you can spread a little bit around the community if that's it. So the next one is grit. And for us, G is for grace. And the grace is, I just think it's easier for us to give grace to others. But I'm talking about the grace. Give yourself a little bit of grace. Be kind to yourself is what one of my mentors taught me many years ago. I just think we're really hard on ourselves these days. The R is for resiliency. I had cancer 3 times, and people say, oh, I never could have done what you've done. You don't start out running an Ironman the first time you train either, right? And so I think there's some inherent skills that you do have, but it can be learned, and you can get more resilient over time. But it's little by little, right? You start with a 5K, then a 10K, right? And you work up. And the I is for integrity. And integrity and grace, a little bit in the same boat to me, because it's a lot easier, I think, to go, hey, you over there, you're the one breaking the rule. But integrity with yourself is what I'm talking about. 3 o'clock in the morning, you're looking at yourself in the mirror. You've been up all night. Something's got you worried. You look in the mirror and you're like, are you being honest with yourself? That's the kind of integrity that I'm kind of talking about in this instance. And then the T is teachable. Always be teachable. When you get too cocky, you get knocked off your high horse. I don't think we ever stop learning. And then the third one is no quit. So hope, grit, and no quit is the 3 pillars that we have. Thank you for listening. We have Lisa Boehm here. She's an author. She's a coach. She has a community speaker, well-known. And I'm going to let Lisa introduce herself and tell us a little bit about who she is and what we're going to talk about today, guys. Welcome to the show, Lisa. Nice to have you.
Trent, I just am so excited for our conversation today. And I am just feeling so energized listening to you. I have to say, your pillars and all the sub-pillars within, you probably saw me nodding my head to each and every one of those. I mean, that I have never put names to, the way I operate like you have, but that's the way I roll. So this is going to be a great conversation.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
But to jump in and answer your question.
Yeah.
I think you nailed something earlier, and that's we really don't know how strong we are until life throws its stuff at us, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I was one of those people. And over 10 years ago, life was cruising along. The biggest problem I had was figuring out how to coordinate my husband, my schedule, and my 2 busy kids who were both involved in a lot of activities. And, that was our biggest problem.
Right. Wow.
And then life changed in a heartbeat, and the police came to our door one evening and told us that our daughter had been killed in a car accident at the age of 17. No drinking, no driving, no drinking, no drugs, no texting. She was a 90% plus student. Wow. Literally had the world in the palm of her hand. She had just received an entrance scholarship into the college of her dreams, full scholarship into nursing. And not to say that bad things don't happen to good people, because we don't understand the way the world works. But definitely that threw myself and my entire family into a spiral. We didn't know what end was up. We had to learn actually how to be a family of 3, which sounds ridiculous, but we did. I had to renovate my kitchen because I couldn't stand the empty chair at the table.
Oh, yeah. These are the things people don't talk about, that people won't realize, that they don't know. I love that you're bringing this to light. Yeah.
So from there, we obviously learned how to keep moving forward, as we do. In the darkest moments of life, we think, I can't do this. I don't know how, which are all very, very normal reactions to really terrible things.
Yep.
And slowly, we found our way forward. I wrote my first book about child loss in 2019, started working with bereaved moms, because at that time, there were no messages of hope. And that's why I so love that one of your pillars is hope.
Yeah,
I had friends, people that I considered close, who said, oh, Lisa, you know that your marriage is over, right?
Oh my gosh.
Rather than supporting me, it was like, just so you know.
Yeah.
And in fact, I do have to say this, when I was researching for my first book about grief, that in fact is a fallacy, that 74% of marriages do last, providing there was no major stressor in the marriage prior to the loss.
Okay.
There's no cheating, there's no, abuse, and all these big things. I mean, there's no marriage that's perfect.
Right.
And the second aspect, this is a really long answer to your very
awesome. It's all good. We're learning about who Lisa Boehm is. This is great. Yeah.
But the communication level that you have with your partner. I mean, you can't stand up on your own 2 feet after you lose a child in the beginning. So it's really hard to provide that support for your spouse, but you learn to communicate. And as long as you're not blaming each other, you're going to be okay.
Good point.
But from there, I started getting invited to speak on stages and, be a part of facilitating groups and so on and so forth. And actually, it was one of your previous guests, Lori Ann Mirabito, who said to me, you know what, Lisa, you've got a bigger message to share. Your message isn't just about surviving grief. Your message is about getting through the really, really rough things in life, about change, about resilience. And so I actually just published my second book called Now What? Just a couple of weeks ago, where I incorporate a lot of this in there. Yeah. So that's been my journey over the last 10-ish years.
That is so cool. So, I'm from the South, and I don't want to do the 20 questions things with you, but tell us like a little bit. Can we back up just a little? Where are you from? Where do you live in the country? What did you do before this?
Great questions. I am from that snow-covered land just north of you called Canada.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. What part of Canada do you live in?
To keep it simple, pretty much right in the middle. We are north of kind of between North Dakota and Montana, like the divider there. If you just drive up a couple of hours, we're right there in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Oh, I cannot believe I used to have a co-host that lived in Regina.
No way.
Quadriplegic. Yeah, he did. Yeah. So not to open up, a political bombshell, but do you want to be part of the US or not? I'm joking.
I love you guys. I love you guys a lot. I love to visit. I was there this winter. I love you guys. Let's just leave it at that.
I'm just whining. I'm teasing. I don't care. I don't care at all. I leave it to those guys. I'm here to help people share my message and do stuff like this. So I'm just kind of winding you up. But God, what interesting times, right? That one of the territories is thinking about like, we don't want to be part of this big place. We want to be part of that other place. You know what? Isn't the grass always greener on the other side? Not really.
No.
So yeah. Okay. So Canada, I can't believe Regina, man. I know where it is. I almost came up and visited my buddy.
Well, you actually said it right too, because just about everybody says it the wrong way. So 2 points for you.
I am traveled. I say I am. I've been to 40 something countries. I've worked in 7, dual citizen. I learn better like this. I learn better tasting the food, talking to the people, doing the stuff, trying the custom. The whole book thing, it doesn't work so good for me. So yeah. So okay, you're from that area, and I guess not to kind of I got us interrupted a little bit. Let's get back on track. And like, so what did what's your family do? What did you do before this that you do now?
Right. Good question. Well, it's funny because I think we can learn so much about ourselves when we look backwards, when we look in the
Yeah,
rearview mirror.
yeah.
And I think I've always been a helper at heart. What I've done, actually, I'm embarrassed to tell you, it's been 35 years this year, like this month, that I've been a radiation therapist. And
Wow.
what that is, well, you probably know, but
I've
maybe
heard
your
of it.
listeners don't. But a radiation therapist is someone who gives radiation treatments to cancer patients.
Yeah.
And I have done that, like I say, for 35 years. I just to really emphasize how old I am. I one of the first pieces of equipment that I ever worked on was a cobalt machine.
Whoa. Okay.
Right. And
Okay.
now everything, I shouldn't say everything, but the technology
Yeah.
is insane what
Yeah.
we're doing now and the
Yeah. Yeah.
changes. And I talk about that in my book a little bit. Um, you know, I think as human beings, there's certain change we love. Like we love going on holidays. I love trying new foods and new wines and that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Sure.
There's change that none of us wants, like the
Oh
loss
yeah.
of a loved one, like a terrible diagnosis, right?
Sure.
Like these are things that happen, but change in the field of radiation therapy is a constant.
Yep.
Like if you
Yep.
can't handle change, don't go into the field because everything
Fair enough.
changes almost on the daily.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You know what? I would not be sitting here talking to you without a radiation therapist saving my life.
Yeah.
Um, I had a softball-sized tumor on the what was left of my pancreas from a previous surgery that they thought was cancer that wasn't cancer, and they took out half of my pancreas and spleen, which is a whole nother story. But I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer when I lived in New Zealand the 3rd time. I had hip, then I had lung, then I had pancreatic. Less than 5% chance, right? It's the death sentence. Came home to be with mom and dad, had a year left, and went 5 minutes up the road. And Dr. Hershey Garner, skinny, raily, country old fella from Arkansas, just said, well, Trent, it's pretty simple. You got a tumor about the size of a softball, and if we don't do something, you're definitely going to die soon. But if you give me a chance at this, I think about 80% I'm going to get it. I'm more worried about you getting cancer somewhere else than if you give me a shot at this thing, I can zap it. And so, hey, we fried that sucker. It's been almost 5 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
Yeah. So, hey, I have a little bit of a sweet spot in my heart for radiation therapists. Yeah, man. I mean, those little suckers, we just fried them, man, and they just turned into little golf balls. And then they were, little grapes, and then they were little peas, and then they were just gone. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Clearly, you were made to be here for a bigger message. You're
Yes, ma'am.
meant to be here sharing your story.
That's doing exactly just like this. I know. I wandered around for about 40 something years thinking, this is my calling, this is what I'm doing it. This is what I'm here to do. I know. And it's kind of nice, right? I think that you know what your calling is and you're doing it. And I feel sorry for the people that wander around. I wandered around a good bit too, trying to figure it out. And I went through a midlife crisis as well that I was talking with somebody about just the other day like yesterday, as a matter of fact, the lady that was on the show with me. So, but gosh, anyways, radiation therapy. Now, do you still practice? Are you still doing that, or are you moved full time into the coaching, speaking, and that stuff?
I tried to quit 2 years ago and they wouldn't let me. We are so short-staffed, and
Oh
I
yeah.
just always have such a soft spot for my patients, so I'm there on average 1 day a week now. I'm the
Oh,
Monday girl.
oh, okay. 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 Good for you. I can see that. I can see that, yep, you're gonna get there, you're gonna get it done, and then the other stuff. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Just do you I know that you know Steve Gamlin, I know that you know Laurie and Mirabito. Do you guys travel around to any stuff together? Do you do any events together? I know that you guys are all kind of friends, right?
Well, I think more so Lorianne is with Mr. Gamlin, but
Okay.
they're very close friends. I have just kind of snuck in on the side, and
Okay.
from me being, from a geographically quite different place, we have not, but I love
Mm,
that idea, and I would totally be open to going around with those two because I
yeah.
definitely feel a kinship to both of them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, you know, when you do you mind if we talk about kind of a few of the stages of what you went through when you lost your daughter, and you know, it seems like to me, right, that when someone loses somebody, for the first week they bring the food over, they do all that, they have the funeral, and then like everybody just kind of goes home and they go back to life, right? And then you're left with this missing piece in your life. And maybe those people that brought dinner over and all that, you probably maybe see them once a year, right? To kind of catch up and this and that. Can you talk to us a little bit about, kind of how you fill those gaps and what you do, and maybe kind of what it's okay to feel this way. And this is kind of how I dealt with some of that.
Yeah, and I think I will also say that I think anytime that we're going through something really hard in life, for example, what you have endured,
Yeah.
that is grief. We
Right.
often think that grief is just the loss of life of a person that we love.
Right.
And in fact, grief is a much, much bigger umbrella.
Yeah.
I can't put words in your mouth, but I can assume that you felt a lot of loss as well. Like when you're going through
Oh,
cancer treatment, for example, this, you're told when to be there, how long it's going to be, so you're giving up your schedule basically.
yeah.
You're giving up your identity. Perhaps you identified as somebody in a particular line of work or trade, and now you're Trent, the cancer patient, right?
Yeah.
And all
That's
these
right.
other losses. But to get back to my situation,
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody prepares you for this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't ever recall my parents sitting down with me, prior to a funeral, for example, and say, okay, Lisa, this is what we say, this is what we do, this is how we should,
Right.
behave going forward. These are nobody does that.
Right. Right.
So we're all just learning as we go. So probably the biggest lesson that I learned in my grief journey was to
Yeah.
give grace to others. Because
Wow.
the anger thing, let me tell you, Trent,
Okay.
I didn't realize how angry I was in
Okay.
that first year or so.
Right.
I remember a couple of occasions like blowing up at people, and I was never that person.
Right. Yeah.
I remember being out at my mother and father-in-law's, and I guess maybe when folks get older, this is just what they do, but they would have to, I call it the death report. Well, old Johnny down the road, he died, and well, so and so died. And I kind of slammed my fist on the dinner table. I said, do we have to talk about all the dead people? I was
It
really
is. Yeah.
angry. And
Yeah.
then I was angry that there were some people that never said Katie's name,
Right.
right? I was angry that it happened at all to the
Yeah.
kid that had it all going on when there's so many freaking terrible people in this world. And it happened
Right.
to my kid, my good kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But then A very wise person said to me, actually, who was further into her grief journey, about 10 years ahead of me. And she said, "You know
Okay.
what, Lisa? So many people love you, but they just aren't equipped to support you." And that hit
Mm,
home. Because in my situation, for example, my parents, who I grew up in a great home, I
right.
leaned on my parents all the time. They leaned on me. We shared everything, like all the things. But all of a sudden, they weren't there for me. They
Right.
thought they were there for me, but they weren't really.
Right.
And then I thought, "Oh, they're grieving their granddaughter. They're grieving for
Um,
me. They're
yeah.
grieving a lot of things, and they
Yeah.
can't fix it."
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because parents love to help their kids and fix things and, make it better. They
Yeah.
couldn't do that. So
Yeah.
I really learned that, to really, as much as I could, step into other people's shoes.
Yeah.
If I was angry or I couldn't understand why they were doing things, or I was like, "Oh yeah, Lisa, remember before Katie died, you didn't know what the heck to do either. You didn't know what to
Mm,
say. You didn't know what to do. So
yeah.
how can you expect other people who have
Man.
not gone through this to know exactly what to do and say?"
Right. Man, that is a lot of grace. That is a lot of being able to say, time out. I'm pulling myself out of the game. I'm going to sit in the stands and I'm looking. I'm
Mhm.
looking at the game and going, oh, this is what's going on the other team. This is what's going on with some of the players on my team. This is, and doing that. And I think that most people they just don't even have the ability to do that. They just can't even step outside of their own their own jail right here. They are just, it's all about me, everything's about me, life is me and all that. And I think the level of maturity and introspect and things that it takes, and humbleness that it takes to be able to do that, it takes a very unique person to be able to do that. um how do you think that you were able to arrive at some of that you were able to get to that point? Because it sounds to me, I mean, I can't imagine. I've lost some grandparents. My brother lost his best friend to cancer. I've lost a best friend to suicide. But God, a child. And how do you, with all the feelings that you have going on, still able to step back, look at the field and go, oh, actually they need this, that, and you're the one that's supposed to be getting the help, but you're actually the one that's kind of helping, right?
I think in the first, I don't know, I'm going to say couple of days,
Yeah.
I imagined my daughter watching me from the other side.
Wow.
And I remember asking myself, like, what do you want her to see?
Yes.
And I
Okay.
didn't really have words, but I just thought, I want her to be proud of me.
Man, yes. Yeah.
And, there's been a lot of times in my life where I think, what would Katie do? And the answer almost 100% of the time, first of all, she'd say, "Take no guff from anybody, Mom." But then the second thing she would say, or that
Oh,
I felt, maybe I felt it in my heart,
yeah.
was to always lead with love, because you'll never go wrong that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of the way I've got myself through.
Gosh. Now, are you a Christian? I mean, do you believe in God, the Bible, or that kind of thing? Or
I believe in a lot of things, and
fair
maybe
enough. Yeah.
I'm way off on this, but I believe that God, higher power, Buddha, whatever you want to call him or her, can and does coexist with this level of spirituality,
Yeah.
and it's just what works right in my little head.
Yeah.
But I believe in it all.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. With my cancer patients, that I work with, I'm not here to debate if it's Allah or Buddha or God. I just want there to be something that you believe is higher than you, because if we're dependent on ourselves, it's pretty rough. we screw up a lot, and we're not perfect. And I believe that having that spiritual thing is something that you need, right? And I'm not here to argue about what works for anybody. I just want the people that I work with to have a connection with a higher power, kind of thing. And hey, they can do their own journey on that for me. So yeah, cool. Well, let me ask. I mean, I see a picture behind you. Is that your daughter? Is that Katie?
Yeah, that is Katie, and I like to have her, in the office with me. I like to. I mean, she's with me. I believe in spirit all the time,
Yeah.
and so I met with somebody new, just another speaker. We've been kind of traveling in the same circles, and finally we got together for coffee just a couple of days ago.
Cool.
And she said, I love the way that you talk about Katie as if she's still here.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I said, I didn't realize I did that, but I just know that in some way, shape, or form, her energy is still with me. And maybe
Right.
I just draw on that energy. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
I believe that too, that, that the soul, the spirit is still around. And that's cool that you feel like that she's around, and she left her body, but she hasn't left the world, so to speak. She hasn't left, your environment, and that's really special. Um, so, how do you talk to us a little bit about how you help people through that come to you and, have just had a devastating loss? And can you take us kind of through a little bit of the framework of how you help people?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let me just say, I don't think that there's a checklist that
Okay.
all of us has to go through, in a certain order. There's no formula. We're all unique snowflakes, and what helped me may not help you. But like we're talking about today and what you said earlier, like maybe you don't learn from books.
Yeah.
I think personal connection and stories and other people's experiences who are walking the same path as you is hands down the most supportive thing that you can do for yourself when you're going through anything hard.
Yeah.
And I know some people don't like to hear this, but I will say support groups, people, support groups. Whether it's illness related, whether it is loss related, whether you're going through a relationship breakdown, divorce, what have you, you lost your job. Like, I don't care what major problem you're facing, there's a support group, which means there are people that are going through the same thing as you.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how empowering, if that's the right word, hope giving, uplifting, all the things to walk into a room like you're just coming home where you realize, oh, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Right. And to be able to talk to somebody else, who's at a different stage. I got so much out of talking to other bereaved moms who are further into their journey, because I always wanted to know, like, what's helping you?
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's
True.
and being open-minded, like,
Yeah.
it's funny I should say this because since I've got 2 books, but at the time, I never would have considered myself a writer.
Right.
And yet, one mom said, oh my God, journaling has helped me so much. Well, guess what? I went home and tried,
Yeah.
another mom had become a grief yoga instructor. I mean,
Oh,
I can barely touch my toes on a good day, Trent, but true story. But I went to grief yoga, cried the whole time, but it was like
wow.
good, therapeutic, a good snotty cry, that you feel better after.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And just to feel not so alone. So that's what I've tried to incorporate. At this point, I exclusively work with bereaved moms,
Right.
just because it's such a unique kind of grief.
Yeah, it's a niche. I can see that.
And, not to say that, I couldn't help other people. And I have worked with other people on the side, but like even dads will sometimes say to me, well, dads grieve too. 1000% you do.
Right.
But I almost feel like a bit of a fraud saying, well, this is, about dad's grief, because I'm not a dad.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a mom. And
Right.
that's my experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I do like doing, a good chunk of what I do with these moms is group work.
Yep.
And, like a lot of them have said, like our favorite part is just when we get together and we can talk together and share and ask each other questions. But I do like to bring in a teeny bit of science and a teeny bit of psychology.
Cool.
I love to know how the brain works.
Yeah.
Like, for example, one thing that's really hard for those who've lost children is we get caught in this spiral of asking, what if, or why me, right?
Yep.
And that takes us into this dark spiral.
Yep.
But when I've learned that the psychology behind that is that as these reptilian human brains that we have, they love logic. Our brains love logic, and it likes taking things that are random and piecing them together, because that's how we understand it. Mm-hmm. So asking all these what if I had done this different or this different, if I hadn't let my child go out that night, or whatever, that I could have undone this.
Right.
Because our brain is trying to say, if this, then that.
Right. Yes.
And trying to make an explanation where there really isn't an explanation.
Right.
But, and then how to reframe that. Because I think the thoughts we think, the words we say, the actions we take affect us on such an immense level.
It brings about reality, if you ask me.
Absolutely. But, it's, so I'll encourage people to take those questions that look to the past where we don't have any control into something that's more empowering, which is why I called my book Now What? Because that's a really empowering question, right? It's like, okay, now what do I do? And even though you might not have the answer at this minute, it sure gives you something to sit on and think about for a while until you do have the answer.
Yeah. Your community is called Angel Moms. Is that correct?
Yes, the Angel Moms community.
Yep. And tell us a little bit, like, how do you meet? Can people like join on the Zoom? What's the schedule? How would they do that? How would they get in touch? Is it, join, like, go to your website and you can get connected, kind of thing?
Yeah. It's everything's on Facebook. Like I think I send out 3 emails at the beginning, like, hi, how are you? This is what you do, find us here. But we meet every Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month. And that's a live Zoom call. And we have people from all over the world. Our time zone, the time that the Zoom happens is 8 p.m. Eastern. So, I mean, depending on where you are in the world, you may not want to get up in the middle of the night. I have had people do that. But we have folks from Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Canada, US. And we get together and we talk about our stuff. Yeah.
Now, do you have anybody that actually, I thought I saw maybe a picture somewhere where you actually had a community group with people together physically. So do you organize like retreats or stuff like that as well?
I have, yes. There's a wonderful equine therapy ranch just north of where I live. And I have taken a small group of women up there. And the ranch, the people who own the ranch, I get goosebumps when I talk about this because they're such incredible humans. They have this 8-bedroom ranch house that honestly looks like it's out of a magazine.
Cool.
They move out of the house. They go and move into the barn. Now, let me tell you, it's a really nice barn. I stayed in the barn. It's a really nice barn. But they give us the entire house. So it's like a giant sleepover.
Yeah.
We have got this gorgeous kitchen. We're able to make homemade food, and we go between the barn doing, equine assisted learning and therapy. And then we come back in the house where I do some grief work, and it is such a beautiful weekend.
That's awesome. So do you have that kind of, do you have those kind of set up, or do you kind of just, whenever a group, it kind of begins to become of interest, and you say, well, I've got, 8 to 10 ladies, or do you have it scheduled every 6 months? I'm kind of just trying to, if somebody hears the show, right, that they're kind of thinking, hey, maybe I want to talk to Lisa, or maybe I want to do this, that they kind of get an idea, of that a little bit. Yeah.
I don't actually have it on the calendar every year, but yes, if there is enough interest, fall is typically when we do it. It is so beautiful up in northern Saskatchewan.
Right.
Just imagine all the beautiful fall colors and the horses. The thing that I love about that horse ranch the most is that here we are, a bunch of broken people coming, right? Because that's what we are.
Yeah.
And every one of those horses is a rescue.
Right.
So one of them was, one was
Awesome.
rescued from the Kentucky Derby. He was, I swear I came up to that horse's shoulder. He was a massive horse.
Wow.
But imagine this, Kentucky Derby horses, they keep the blinders on them, right? So that they stay in their lane. They're not allowed to socialize. Horses are very social animals. So imagine like not allowing your child to socialize their entire life.
Yeah.
Like that's abuse.
Yeah.
Other horses were, in the rodeo circuit abused. So they all have a sad story. They rescued this one horse that was about to be put down. She was a beautiful, beautiful horse. She had an ovarian tumor. And ironically, one of the owners at the ranch was dealing with breast cancer.
Huh.
And these two have become soulmates, and they have helped each other through each other's cancer journey.
That is so cool. I've seen some stuff with horses and people, and they are very spiritual, energetic beings. And they help. I've seen it where they've helped kids with, like, that have MS and have some of the balance issues, and putting the kids on these horses and walking them around, that energy that the horse has, and I think it's the love and the innocence and the trust and everything that the kids have, kind of makes this thing, and in these non-conventional ways, it improves the child to where they don't have this balance problem or issue anymore. It's just so cool. I love horses. I used to try to get my mom to take me out to the horse ranch and ride horses. I tried to buy a horse when I was a kid, and I saved all my money. I had $85. I needed $100, and that, it didn't happen. But man, horses are really, they're special animals. They really are. That's neat that you do that. And it's so cool that, it's kind of like you take your broken friends out there and the broken horses, and by the end of it, everybody just kind of feels better,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to watch too, because, horses are big animals. And even though these horses have gone through rigorous training to do this work, and that they are so safe to work with, but there is a bit of a fear factor working with something. But what I loved about it too is that, you can be totally broken inside and be just a hot mess, but you need to be in the moment when you're working with a horse, because your body language, the words you use, and the energy you give off affects that horse. Yep. So if you don't want to get hurt, or if you have to leave your, at the door.
Yeah.
And horses will actually take on our energy if we're within 10 feet of them.
Yep.
So it's common when we're up there to see the horses rolling in the dirt because they're releasing the energy that we're giving off. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. That's so cool. Hey, Zadie, you come here. 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 This is my buddy.
Oh.
This is my best friend. This is Zadie.
Oh,
this is my little horse.
Hi, Zadie.
This is my buddy. She's my ESA, and I don't know what I'd do without her. She, this is my best friend. She's sitting here right here beside me in the chair, just waiting. And I had a birthday last week, and
happy birthday.
We're all going to get our toenails done in a little while, because that's what you do when you want to feel kind of, pampered. So me, mom, and dad, and well, we're going to take Zadie too. She'll just sit in the chair beside us. And we're going to get our nails done, man. I don't like people touching my hands, but my feet, that's going to be fun, So that's my buddy. I think animals.
Yes.
Golly, she, it's been about 5 years since I've been home, and I came home because I had a year left from New Zealand, and we got her 4 years ago, and it has changed this home. She is my best bud. I take her. I literally can. I take her in the clinic. I take her in the doctor's office, in the bank. They just kind of just let me do it. Yeah. And do you know that I've had several surgeries at Mayo Clinic, and they, as long as the dog's on the leash, they are allowed in the hospital and not in the surgery, in the operating room, but they're allowed in there. I mean, she's on the bed with me, hanging out, and you know what that does for your mental health? It's awesome. I just love the fact that you go and do that with the horses, and I just see it's a win and a win and a win for everybody, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So switching gears a little bit, I mean, if you don't mind. Now you have 4 books, and
2.
Okay, just 2. Now I thought you had 2 that were in German. Am I confused?
No German books for this girl.
Interesting, very interesting, because there is a Lisa Boehm, and is that how you say your surname, Boehm?
Boehm or Boehm?
B-O. Yeah. There isn't. When I was looking on Amazon, there is, and there's 2 books in German, and I thought, how is this lady got 2 German books as well?
There is something new. Serious. Don't quote me on this. Yeah. I know that Amazon has the ability, I think they have the ability to translate books.
Okay.
So that might be my book translated, but don't quote me on that. I have written 2 books.
Okay. So yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it is, because you sent me the link on Amazon. I clicked on it and I looked, and I pulled the What Now book off of that. Okay. And I have that on the thumbnail and all that. And then the other 2. So maybe that's what it is. And look, the titles, they are in German. I can't read the titles.
But do they look like this?
No, they look different. They look different. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So, okay, well,
my evil twin, maybe.
Stay tuned to this interesting open fact that we'll figure out at another time, right? Goodness, yeah, that's kind of okay. Hey, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you do speaking engagements and stuff like that. Give us a little idea, where do you speak, and is it mainly do you mainly do female related events and stuff like that?
Since I've been working with Lorianne, the audiences that I speak to has changed somewhat. Not so much grief anymore. I almost feel like I have 2 businesses. I've got the grief support part, and then now keynote speaking. So the audiences I'm speaking to, I've actually got going down to Texas in the fall to speak to an HMO about compassion without collapse. Because as you and I both know, what happens with healthcare workers is that we're all givers by nature, and being compassionate all the time can be a tough one. So I'm doing talks on that. Next week, actually, I'm speaking to a corporate group about change fatigue and all the fun things that go with corporate change and all that kind of thing.
Wow.
And resilience is really one of the other things that I talk a lot about. So a lot of mixed audiences.
Cool. So, with the grief process, we've jumped around a little bit, and we kind of talk about the beginning of it and some of that. Have we left any bits out that you would share and say, we kind of left off where, they don't tell you how you're going to do the funeral, and they don't tell you this and that part. And then, after everybody goes home and you're kind of by yourself, what do you kind of do? What do you kind of guide people to do at that point to try to get back to being normal, if you will?
Right. The new normal.
Yeah.
I always like to share a story to answer that question.
Okay.
And it was kind of a big aha moment for me. So about a year after we lost Katie, like I say, the three of us, my son was 15 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And, you think you're spending time together, but you're not when you're at home. So we found that by getting away, we would spend more quality time together and heal as a family.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of those things were like, driving to the next city over for a few hours and coming home. And some of them were a little bit bigger than that. And we went out to British Columbia, which is just an incredibly beautiful province. Yeah. And we went hiking through a redwood forest, and it kind of spit us out onto a beach, which ironically was deserted at the end of July. Like, it should have been filled with people, but for whatever reason, there was nobody there. And my husband and son were walking quite a ways ahead of me on the beach, and I was plodding along and kind of half in the water and half out of the water. And it was just the most perfect day. I had ocean on one side. I had this gorgeous forest and beach on the other side. The sun was high in the sky, and it was that perfect temperature. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. You know how the water sparkles in the sunshine? Like, it was just a perfect moment.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of tipping my head up to the sun and smiling and just like, wow. And then like a millisecond later, getting that punch in the gut. Like, what is wrong with you, Lisa?
Oh, wow.
Like, what is wrong with you? Don't you love your daughter? You're supposed to be grieving, all this stuff. And then I was like, whoa, just a minute here. In that minute or half minute or 10 seconds that I was, smiling, did I forget about Katie? No.
Right.
Did I stop grieving? No.
Right.
So I kind of had this big aha moment at the time that was like, okay, so I can carry grief in one hand.
Yeah.
And I can carry life, joy, whatever you want to call it, in the other hand.
Right.
And one doesn't cancel out the other.
Yeah.
So I'd say my message to anybody who's going through anything like this right now is that when those glimmers of hope, or, a teeny smile, a giggle when you're watching TV, never feel guilty for that.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
And
Don't
know that
yourself, right?
it's not, it doesn't mean that you're over it or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. It's funny how people think it's like, well, you kind of need to suffer to show your care.
No.
And that, to me, that's just a bit kind of a bass backwards thing to do. And I love how you're like, well, what would Katie do? What, like, she's around, like, she would probably want you to enjoy the day. She would want you to be happy. She'd want you to say, hey, I'm glad you're here enjoying this with us, even though you're not physically here. We know that you're here. And that's neat. That's really cool.
And to piggyback on that, if I may, a very spiritual person said something to me that has always stuck with me. And she said, when we smile, they smile. When we laugh, they laugh. So give your daughter something amazing to watch.
Wow, man.
That just even saying it for the millionth time here, it gives me goosebumps every time.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let me ask you, have you ever worked with somebody and they just can't get over it?
Yep.
You're kind of like, I don't know what to, I've tried everything. I don't know what to do. Because when people come to us as coaches, right? Kind of like it's unfair a bit, but they expect us to have all the answers, right? And to be able to just tell them, oh, well, in this situation, you should do this, and if this is how you feel, you should do that. And I've had some people like that, and like with the cancer, and I'm like, whoa, I'm not even a medical professional. You've come to me because I've walked in your shoes. I've been there. I know how you feel. I know where you're at. And I'm here to be on your team and say, hey, think about these options. But I can't give you, that's unfair to expect me to give you the answer, right? To your problems. You have to come up with that. So it's kind of like you lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Have you worked with any people like that? And how do you work with them?
Absolutely. I think every single coach has probably worked with, challenging clients.
Yeah.
I would say, not to put a simple label on it at all, but just what I've discovered is I think we've been conditioned before the bad things happened in our lives. We've been conditioned to believe we can't get past certain things.
Okay.
I think most parents out there on some level can sort of imagine what it might be like to lose a child.
Right.
Right. And I can't tell you even how many people have said to me, oh my God, Lisa, I don't know how you do it. I couldn't do it. Right. Yeah, you could. If you have to, and you're not given a choice, yeah, you would.
That's right.
But I think we have those kinds of preconceived notions in our head. I can't. Yeah. Well, guess what? If you keep saying you can't, you won't. Right?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
And we do a lot of work around, like I say, the psychology.
Yeah.
Right? And even just changing our words. Like, I can't yet. I can't today. Or I don't know how, but I'm willing to learn. I don't know how, but I'm doing the best I can. And just, you're not, lying to yourself or anything, but you're just reframing it a little bit.
Yeah.
And in my book, Now What, I talk a lot about this, and this is something I talk about all the time, and that's this notion of 1% shifts.
Okay.
Like rather than going, and especially like in the early days of grief, right? Like I couldn't imagine, first of all, I did kind of think we were going to get divorced because my husband and I were on just completely different spectrums with our grief. Right. Our son was off in left field, coping with it another different way. I didn't know that the three of us would make it, but it was hard to believe that I'd even be sitting here today talking to you at the 10-ish year mark.
Yeah. Wow.
But the notion of the 1% shifts, like, here's an example. You just, like in those early days, you just don't even think you can get out of bed. Well, the 1% shift would be get up, put on fresh pajamas, get back in bed. Or move to the couch. That's a 1% shift.
Yep.
Drink a glass of water.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. Like every single baby step you make in the right direction is ultimately going to help you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That's why you have a compass on the front of your book.
Yes.
Because that was me. I had this thing in my mind. I got to do a 180. And I'm like, I can't do a 180 in one day. But if I tick, 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 in a half a year, I'm going the other direction.
Absolutely.
And it probably took me about 9 months, actually. But that is so cool that I've picked that up with your 1%. Because I thought about that when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is like kind of me and my thing with my 1 degree, and like, man, you can't do a 180 in one day. I mean, that'll turn you upside down. But if you just do 1 degree and you keep going, you won't be and a few months down the road, you at 1 degree in time, you aren't even in the same zip code, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and then if we add a little bit of science to that, because I'm all about the science.
Yeah.
Our brains actually resist big changes.
Yeah.
In this, the simplest example I can think about is, here we are, we're coming up on summertime. We all want to look great in our shorts and our tank tops, and you think, oh, geez, are my clothes even going to fit? Or, geez, I want to look great, right? So then we think, well, I'm going to go to the gym for 2 hours a day. I'm going to subsist on only fruits and vegetables. And, I'm going to lose, I don't know, let's pick a big number. I'm going to lose 50 pounds in the next 2 months. Well, my guess is that you're not going to get through the first day, right? Like that, your body, your brain, nothing about what I just said is doable. Yeah. It's not comfortable. Right. But when we can make small 1% shifts, 1 degree shifts that are comfortable and repeatable and sustainable, our brain barely registers it as change. They're like, okay, well, I can do that. I can do that again tomorrow. I can do that again next week. Yeah. So going back to the getting in shape for summer, it might start off being, well, I'm going to walk for 15 minutes a day, and I'm going to add an extra vegetable to my day.
Yep.
And then you get that into your belt and you think, well, geez, that 15 minutes is kind of easy now. I think I'm going to bump that up to 30. And I think I'm going to start, I don't know, take your pick. But you see what I'm saying is it's the small, sustainable things. And our brain is like, this is okay. Yeah. I feel comfortable, right?
Yep. That's awesome. I love it. And you know what? They're so micro that you don't have a melty over it being a change.
That's right.
Yeah, I love it. That's good. That's so cool. I wondered if you wouldn't mind sharing for a minute or two about your son and how he's dealt with losing his sister and how that's been navigating that as a parent and everything with him, because he was he the younger brother, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, this could be another entire show, but I will try and be succinct with the answer.
No.
He was 15 at the time, as I mentioned, and he was kind of already going down this path of bad decision making. So I remember, literally, I remember sitting in my front room when the police came to the house, and he was sitting on one side of me, my husband was on the other, and I remember just turning my head and looking at him and thinking, dear God, this is going one of two ways. Like it's either going to give him the kick in the pants he needs, or it's going to get really bad. And it got really bad.
Oh.
You think about, here I was, how old was I? I'm going to say 46 years old when Katie died.
Okay.
And I didn't have all the right coping tools in my tool belt. Like I was doing the best I could, but I had all this more life experience that he didn't have. And I still didn't know what the hell I was doing. So a 15-year-old boy, I jokingly say, but I'm kind of serious. He had mad, sad, and pot were his three tools, right?
Okay.
Now I see it, and I've apologized to him because I said, all I saw was the belligerence and the anger and the lashing out. I didn't realize that was your grief.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
But I really believe that his sister was hanging around and saving his butt a lot of the time because, man, there were some situations that went down and he just thankfully wasn't there.
Wow.
And something happened when he was about 16. And I truly believe this was a turning point. And I actually wrote about it in my book, Now What?
Cool.
He just was so lost and he was just clinging on to, the worst people. And then he took an auto mechanics class in high school.
Okay.
And he would, we kind of get those magic 10 minutes at the supper table. And all I'd say was, tell me what you learned in auto today.
Yeah.
And he'd get, a great big smile. His eyes would light up and he'd tell me whatever. I didn't understand a word of it, but it made him happy.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
So he saved and saved and saved and saved and bought himself a project car.
Cool.
And he brought it home, and it was just the right time of the year. And I said, what are you going to do with that? Well, I'm going to fix it up. I said, do you want the garage for the summer? So we gave him the garage, and I slowly started seeing not only a change in him, because he had passion, he had something to pour his heart and his feelings into.
Yeah.
But I saw like the people that were coming into my garage were different.
Right.
The people that he was associating with were different.
Yeah.
When he was in the house, which was rare, as a mom with a teenage son, you're always a little bit concerned what they're looking at on their phones, right? I'd kind of look over his shoulder, and he was always watching YouTube videos, like how to fix this, how to fix that.
Yeah.
And so fast forward a little bit, he loved the tools so much that when he was done high school, he ended up going to school. He's now a millwright. He's a Red Seal millwright journeyman.
Wow.
And I think he out earns my husband, frankly, who's a pharmacist.
Wow.
And he bought his own house when he was 21, completely, no help from us. And he rebuilt that car, and he raced it this past summer.
That is too cool. That is awesome.
But I would say parenting a child when you're grieving is a challenge. No, my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading something. I read a book somewhere, and in it talked about the surviving children and how a lot of the times, because when you lose someone that you care about, you talk about them a lot. And other people tend to put them up on a pedestal. I mean, my daughter was awesome. Don't get me wrong. She was awesome.
Yeah.
But she wasn't perfect. She was a human being.
Right.
And yet people talk about them always in the best of light.
Right.
And we had to say to Ryan, you know what, bud? Because he actually lashed out at a teacher, not physically, but just verbally, I'm not Katie, because she was very academic and he was more hands-on, and, I'm not Katie. And we all said, nobody expects you to be Katie. We just want you to be the best Ryan you can be.
Yeah.
But we really made a point with him, like I say, like supper table, talking car talk, like we tried to have dedicated time that was just Ryan time.
Right.
We weren't talking about Katie. And I would make dates with him. And it was funny because he'd always think that we were going for a car ride for me, like I needed to talk. But those were times when he would open up most. And we'd go and we'd do something that he loved to do, or we'd go to a car show, or, so just, to try your best to try and make sure that your child never feels like they're second best to the one who died.
Right.
And that you still want to talk and learn and be with that other child as well.
Yeah. It sounds like, in communication, good communicators know the person that they're trying to communicate with, and they go to their level. They talk their language. Good communicators don't say, hey, you need to come up to my level. You need to meet me where I am. You met Ryan where he was, right? Yeah. And it sounds like giving him the garage was like the deal, right? Mm-hmm. And you can see that was the turning point, and that was probably like a small thing, right? Or maybe it was a big thing. I don't know. Maybe you had to get all your stuff and throw it out, right? But he got the garage, and that's so cool. I'm a DISC certified like consultant, DISC. It's kind of like Myers-Briggs and all that with the communication thing, and that's what I see, that you found a way to communicate with Ryan. My cousin's name is Ryan as well, and he's one of my best friends. And you got on his level, and you found the stuff that he's interested in, and you met him there because the relationship is that important that you're willing to go that little extra because he just doesn't know or doesn't see it or whatever, right? And it doesn't matter because you do. And so then it's kind of your responsibility, so to speak, to get to that point. And I mean, it sounds like you just done a great job in a really tough situation. I just can't imagine. So I admire you. I can't imagine coming on and talking about losing your daughter and some of that stuff, the courage, the strength, but I think I can see that what drives you is that it's for a bigger purpose and you're helping people, and helping people makes you feel better, and that's awesome. That's awesome. Is there, we're kind of been around an hour, and I never try to rush anybody off or anything. But I try not to go too long. Is there anything that we haven't covered? Is there anything you'd like to say that you'd like to wrap up, or any of that stuff, or tell us about, your websites and your pages? And I mean, golly, I can go through that in a minute anyways, at the end, if you'd like. So
I think if there's any message that I'd like your listeners to hear today, it's just this: that reaching out for support is one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself when you're going through tough times.
Yep.
Instantly, you are going to feel better. I promise you.
And here's the thing: we can't read your mind.
No.
Like if you make the first step and you can just do that 10% or 20 and make that call, most of the time, the people that you're calling, they'll meet you the other 80, 90% because they know. But we can't, we don't know if you haven't told us. You got to open your mouth. You got to write an email. You got to do something because we don't know you're out there, right? And you got to just muster up just enough of that 1% that you're talking about to make that call or make the email or that message or whatever, and then you'll be better for it. So what a pleasure. It has been really such a pleasure to have you on the show. I mean, touched my heart today. Goodness gracious. And like Lisa, I mean, let me go through it here. She's, her website is Lisa Boehm, and that's LisaBoehm.com, guys. Okay. And she's on Facebook, Grief Support for Moms, Instagram, Child Loss Grief Support, I believe it is. She's on Instagram, LinkedIn, Lisa Boehm, and she's on Grief Support for Moms on YouTube. She's out there, guys, but the website, LisaBoehm.com, okay? So if you're in one of those situations, you're dealing with grief, you're dealing with stuff, you're dealing with trouble, Lisa, man, if they come to me, I'm sending them to you, okay? Seriously, I mean, I know that you do a good job at doing what you're doing, and I appreciate it. I'm thankful. I'm thankful that you've turned a horrible thing like this into something, right? And that's what I've tried to do. It kind of made it work. It kind of makes it worth me being handicapped and losing my business and all the terrible things that have happened, So, yeah.
There is something so healing about helping other people.
Yeah. It really is. And man, my currency is a simple thank you. If I get a thank you from somebody about a little something I did, man, I can go for 6 months. So, well, yeah, anything else? I'll give you the final word and then I'll take us out and we'll be done. And if you don't mind, stick around for just a minute after. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have covered a lot of ground here. Yes, and I would just want to say thank you for the work that you do too. Someone that works in the field of cancer, I can see how much support is needed by patients. So thank you for that.
You got it. Well, guys, wrapping up another episode of the Conquerors Crew. Lisa Boehm, what an awesome guest. Thank you so much for being here. And guys, God bless. Godspeed to you this week, and never forget that grit don't quit. We're out.